I will never go back there again. Before my best friends and I were separated, we used to ride around doing all of the haunted legend places within reasonable driving distances. Sometimes we'd drive a few hours, but most of them weren't scary, other than the adrenaline-filled, hyped up, "Did you hear that?" That would cause us to get spooked. This one was different. We were just out of high school, probably 20 at most, and we were looking for an actually scary place to visit. A lot of the people we knew we were into these kinds of things, so we'd always get tips on where to go. There were the original 3 of us that day, and another friend that wanted to tag along. After a little drive to our destination, we stopped at a Wawa to get gas and grab a few snacks. Like I stated earlier, we were all about 20 at the time, so we were all hyped up, because we knew spooky time was getting close. We'd always pick on that other friend that tagged along, nothing harsh, just AHH you're scared. So I believe it was me that said something along those lines that was overheard by a few people. It got the attention of a few people in the Wawa, including these 2 creepy older guys, who seemed like they didn't fit in. Their clothes were all beat up and dirty, and they just didn't seem right for the area, and time it was, probably 8 p.m. on a Saturday night. "What's the little one scared of?" asked one of the guys. I say little because the 3 of us are all abnormally tall. The shortest between us 3 was 6'4" and he was normal height, probably about 5 feet 9 inches. We replied and explained how we got tipped to go to this road because it's haunted. They replied that it wasn't that scary, and if we wanted a real scare that we should go to this random road. I forget what it was called exactly. But apparently there's this random memorial statue for a plane crash in the middle of the woods that crazy things are supposed to happen at. We grabbed our stuff and didn't think anything of it. As soon as we left, the group started talking and decided to go with the other road that those guys hyped up. I know, a typical horror movie what not to do. So we get to the entrance of the road, and it already did not disappoint. Woods on both sides, not one damn street light in sight. And I remember there was like a detention center off to the right. In the middle of nowhere. So the spooks already began the second we hit the entrance. We decided to drive down the road and search for the statue. We noticed that there were trees cut down on the side of the road, and lying parallel to the shoulder of the road. We finally found the statue. About 5 minutes went by of silence, and we decided to enhance the scare factor by shutting the lights off. About a minute goes by, and we see a shadow figure pop out from the statue. We all freak out as it starts walking towards us, but it was making movements that no human would be normally capable of. It was dark out. But this thing was black. It was darker than the woodsy sky, so we could make out some of it. This thing was huge. Like I said earlier, we were all extremely large compared to the average guy, but this thing would have dwarfed any of us.
However, my husband wasn't happy. The following week, my husband came to the cafe at 7:30 a.m. and sat at the young man's usual table. He looked confused and unsure of what to do, holding his sandwich and coffee. I offered to help him find another table, but my husband, filled with jealousy, confronted the young man, telling him that he should respect me as a married woman and not stare at me like that. The young man quickly apologized and left, clearly upset. I felt sad and asked my husband to apologize and leave the table, knowing that the young man struggled with change due to his routine-oriented nature. When we got home, my husband said that we didn't need my income since he earned enough. He asked me to quit and had contacted my sister, suggesting she take over my share of the cafe. He said he was worried about me and the card the young man had given me. My husband even claimed that the young man had a crush on me, which left me annoyed. We tried to work things out, but something had changed between us. My husband's behavior became inconsistent, at times avoiding me when I shared happy stories about the cafe. The spark in our relationship began to fade, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. I eventually made the difficult decision to quit from the cafe, hoping it would bring peace back into our lives and allow us to move past this challenging situation. My husband acted pleased, but I sensed the lack of sincerity in his happiness. At this point, I started wondering if my husband might be having some issues with himself. He often stayed late at the office, and I feared the worst. Whenever I tried to talk to him, he brushed off my concerns with false assurances of his love and the claim that everything was fine. I was at a loss, unable to make him open up to me. Quitting from the cafe had been my attempt to save our relationship, but his late nights and emotional distance continued. One day, I decided to visit his office unannounced to bring him lunch. What I saw was a scene that broke my heart, my husband and the new receptionist talking in a friendly manner, their faces showing guilt. I calmly placed the lunch bag on his desk and said, "Well, dear, it seems your jealousy was not justified. It seems we both have a soft spot for people with different abilities." With that, I turned and left the office, leaving him speechless behind me. That very day, I counselor to seek help.